Victoria Beckham has finally done what no one thought she ever would. She shut down Meghan Markle's plea to rejoin the Beckham circle she once walked away from. The same circle Meghan quietly cut off, the same people she froze out, the same friendship she let crumble. But now, after years of silence, Meghan wants back in. And Victoria Beckham is not having it. Not after everything. Not after the fallout. Not after the truth. Because once Victoria opened her mouth, the entire world stopped. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more explosive stories. The night Victoria Beckham finally broke her silence wasn't supposed to be memorable at all. It was meant to be just another polished London gala. Soft lighting, chilled champagne, famous faces drifting through the room like a quiet constellation. Victoria had attended events like this for decades without ever creating a ripple. She moved with that calm elegance the world knew so well. The poise of a Spice Girl, the confidence of a fashion powerhouse, the grace of a woman who never needed drama to command attention. But halfway through her speech, everything changed. As she stepped onto the stage, the crowd relaxed, expecting another classic Victoria moment. Warm, humble, gracious. Instead, she paused, looked directly at a journalist who had been documenting her career for years, and delivered 7 words that sliced through the room like a cold blade. "I kept quiet too long. People need to know." No names, no accusations, no theatrics, but everyone knew exactly who she meant. The air froze. The room leaned forward as if pulled by a string. Those 7 words hit harder than any headline, harder than any rumor whispered between publicists. Because Victoria Beckham was not someone who spoke lightly. When she broke silence, it meant something real had been brewing beneath the surface. Something deep, something personal, something she could no longer ignore. Someone recorded the moment, and before dessert was even served, the clip was everywhere. Millions watched, millions speculated, and millions asked the same question. What had Meghan Markle done to push Victoria Beckham to finally speak? To answer that, we need to go back to the moment Meghan first stepped into Victoria's world. Before the fallout, before the silence, before the 7 words that shook the internet, Victoria Beckham didn't just tolerate Meghan Markle, she welcomed her. When Meghan first entered the royal spotlight, she faced a type of pressure she had never experienced. Relentless tabloids, brutal headlines, photographers waiting outside every door. Victoria had survived that world for decades. She knew how heavy that spotlight could become. So she did something she rarely did for anyone. She reached out, not through assistants, not through publicists. Victoria contacted Meghan directly, woman to woman, mother to mother, celebrity to newcomer. She offered advice, reassurance, and something even more valuable, access. Victoria shared her private circle, her trusted contacts, the discreet professionals who quietly supported Britain's most powerful figures. Stylists who never spoke to the press. PR experts who fixed disasters before the world noticed. Spa owners who protected their clients' privacy like national secrets. Fashion insiders who understood the delicate game of surviving fame with dignity. Meghan accepted it all quickly, and soon the world began seeing them together, smiling at Wimbledon, whispering during matches, wearing matching shades of high fashion that made headlines around the globe. Victoria even sent pieces from her luxury line directly to Kensington Palace, and Meghan wore them proudly, praising Victoria's designs in interviews. Industry insiders whispered, "Victoria didn't have to do this. She's really trying to help her." For a moment, it looked like a powerful alliance, the Hollywood Duchess and the British fashion queen. 2 glamorous women united against the harshness of public life. But behind those polished photos, something small, almost invisible, had already started to shift. A quiet crack, a subtle tension. And soon, that tiny fracture would grow into the break no one saw coming. Victoria sent carefully selected pieces from her fashion line to Kensington Palace. Meghan wore them with pride, choosing looks that made Victoria's designs trend instantly. Fashion reporters wrote glowing reviews about how Meghan brought new life to the Beckham brand, and Victoria's team quietly acknowledged the boost Meghan's spotlight provided. But it wasn't just fashion. Victoria introduced Meghan to her trusted inner circle, people she rarely shared with outsiders. These weren't casual contacts. They were the people who handled crises, balanced image, and protected reputations at the highest levels. Meghan was invited to private gatherings, introduced to high-profile families, and given access to quiet corners of British elite culture. Together, they represented two worlds: glamour and royalty, Hollywood and high fashion. For a brief moment, it felt like they were building a sisterhood strong enough to withstand the pressure of fame. But beneath the shimmer, tiny tensions were beginning to surface. Meghan was navigating a world where every misstep became international news. Victoria, calm and experienced, offered guidance. But Meghan wasn't used to relying on others, not in Hollywood, not in life. She was used to taking control. And somewhere between the smiles and supportive gestures, a subtle shift began. Meghan started to feel watched, judged, exposed. The British media grew harsher, and Meghan grew more defensive. Little misunderstandings became bigger questions. Private worries turned into private suspicions. What started as a glamorous alliance, shining under the brightest spotlight, began to dim. And soon, those tiny cracks that hid behind perfect photos would widen into fractures no one could ignore. The first cracks in Meghan and Victoria's friendship didn't explode loudly. They arrived quietly, slipping into the spaces between trust and doubt. By late 2019, people close to Meghan began noticing a shift. She wasn't as relaxed, not as open, not as trusting as she had been when she first joined the royal world. The pressure from the British press had grown relentless, and Meghan felt exposed in ways she had never expected. And then it happened, the moment the friendship began to unravel. Meghan became convinced that private details were finding their way into the press. Not trivial things, not public outings, but intimate pieces of information only her inner circle knew. Things whispered in private rooms. Things that should never have appeared in print. Someone was talking, someone inside her circle. And as the rumors swirled, one name floated to the surface again and again behind closed doors. Victoria Beckham. Most people thought the idea was absurd. Victoria had spent decades protecting her own privacy, refusing to sell stories, never leaking gossip. She was known for silence, dignity, and absolute loyalty to her circle. But once suspicion settles in, it doesn't need proof to grow. It only needs emotion. Meghan reacted in the only way she knew. She cut people off. Not loudly, not publicly, quietly, completely. One day, the text messages slowed. Then they stopped. Invitations faded, connections vanished. Victoria, who had welcomed Meghan with generosity, suddenly found herself on the outside with no explanation. No phone call, no conversation, just distance. And as that silence grew heavier, the friendship withered. By the time Meghan and Harry stepped back from royal duties and moved toward a new life, the break was already complete. The glamorous moments at Wimbledon were memories. The shared laughter was gone. The private support network Victoria had offered was no longer acknowledged. The world didn't know it then, but this was the moment Meghan and Victoria quietly parted ways. A friendship that had once sparkled under camera flashes dissolved in silence. And if the silence had stayed unbroken, the story might have remained hidden forever. But silence doesn't last, not in Hollywood, not in royalty, and definitely not when Victoria Beckham was about to face something far more personal. At the same time, Meghan and Harry were facing their own storm. The pressure of the royal family, the media, and their personal struggles pushed them to step back from royal duties entirely. With that step, the physical distance became emotional distance. London stayed quiet. Hollywood became the new home, and between the two sides, a cold wall formed, invisible to the public but very real for everyone involved. Victoria watched all of this from afar, unsure how she suddenly became an outsider in a friendship she thought was real. The silence grew heavier, and the separation felt almost permanent. But the true breaking point, the one that finally shattered everything, said Bari, arrived in the most unexpected way, a charity event meant to help children. For months, Victoria had poured her heart into a children's hospital fundraiser. It was her project, her passion, something she believed would bring real change. She had sponsors lined up, designs approved, and everything was moving smoothly until one email changed everything. Meghan's team reached out with a message that felt colder than winter. They expressed brand alignment concerns, questioning whether Victoria's involvement suited Meghan's developing public image. Within days, Victoria's name was removed from materials she helped create. Sponsors she personally contacted suddenly backed away, saying they were told there would be a different direction. Months of planning, long nights, and hard work disappeared, as if she had never been part of the project. Victoria was shocked. The fundraiser was supposed to be about helping sick children, not protecting someone's image. She couldn't understand why Meghan's team would step into a project that wasn't theirs and erase her completely. After the fundraiser disaster, Victoria kept quiet publicly, but inside she carried the weight of everything she had been through. When she finally stepped on stage at a major fashion event months later, no one expected her to address anything personal. But she did, in only 7 words. With a calm voice and steady eyes, she said, "Protect your peace, even from familiar faces." The crowd didn't know the story behind it, but the message was unmistakable. Those 7 words spread across the internet within minutes, becoming the most shared quote from the entire event. Then came David Beckham's moment. Hours after Victoria's quote went viral, he posted a simple message on Instagram: "Truth always comes out in the end." No names, no details, but everyone knew what it meant. The timing was too perfect, the energy too sharp. Fans immediately connected it to the quiet tension between the Beckhams and Meghan and Harry. Celebrities began reacting without reacting, liking Victoria's quote, reposting subtle messages about loyalty, trust, and real friendship. No open fights, no public statements, only quiet signals. Lines were forming, sides were being chosen, and the silent Hollywood-London divide grew wider than ever. Just when the internet thought the drama had cooled down, a new spark exploded online. A 14-second audio clip started circulating on social media, allegedly Meghan's voice speaking sharply about controlling narratives and cutting out unnecessary people. Though unverified, the tone and wording immediately triggered suspicion. Fan pages that once defended Meghan began deleting old posts, saying they didn't want to be involved in politics. The clip spread everywhere in hours. Comment sections flipped overnight. People who once supported Meghan now questioned the pattern. The public mood shifted from confusion to clarity. And right in the center of the storm, everyone waited to see if Victoria would finally speak. But she didn't. Not a single word. Her silence became louder than any statement she could have made. Instead, it was someone close to her, a longtime friend, who gently confirmed what many suspected. The friend said she was disappointed but not surprised. That single action told the world what words never could. The door wasn't just closed, it was locked. Forever.